In Leigh Whannell's 2018 futuristic action thriller
Upgrade.
Gray, after an assault by a group of men, loses not only his wife, but also the ability to control his body from the neck downwards.
No, I should, no, but...
This is where Aaron and STEM come into play.
Gray. What if I told you I could offer you something that would enable you to walk again? That computer chip that I showed you, it has the potential to change everything for people in your condition. As a quadriplegic, the line connecting your brain to your limbs has been cut. STEM would bridge that gap.
Gray enters a sort of symbiosis with the STEM chip, enabling him on the one hand to seek revenge. On the other hand, it is turning him into something that is fittingly described by the film's tagline. Not man, not machine, more. The posthuman subject is, according to Myra J. Seaman, often described as a physical counterpart and successor to the universal human. This alternative or extended human appears in popular culture as a corporeal being whose existence is the hypothetical result of certain developments in techno-science. Seaman further distinguishes between posthumans and humans enhanced through techno-science. It is important to note that for a classification as the latter, the techno-scientifically enhanced human being, the conservation of the enhanced individual's identity is crucial. A demonstrative example for a techno-scientifically enhanced human being would therefore be Darth Vader from the Star Wars franchise. His missing limbs are replaced by cybernetic prostheses, and his destroyed lungs are supported and therefore counteracted by his suit and mask. He remains in charge of his actions rather than being controlled by the machines that enhance his injured body. An example of a post-human, on the other hand, would be RoboCop. After his death, police officer Murphy's brain is put into an almost completely mechanical shell with, for example, his memories being monitored and filtered. Thus, his brain, his neural capacities are instrumentalized by the machine for it to function on its own instead of serving as prosthetic aid that restores autonomy, classifying it as truly post-human. At least for as long as the machine is successful in suppressing Murphy's memories, his thoughts and feelings. Before we take a closer look at Gray's development from a human to a post-human subject, it is important to visualize from where said development is starting. Upgrade introduces us to Gray in the very beginning of the film by way of a long take through a garage accompanied by a diegetic needle drop. This opening sequence tells us directly what Gray's main character traits are. It depicts someone who is listening to 1950s blues on a record player and working on a muscle car without any technological support. On the walls are a Budweiser sign, a dartboard and a bicycle. In a world where there is technology pretty much everywhere you look, he is an old-school, hands-on guy and, as the runtime progresses, appears repeatedly as an avowed techno-skeptic.
Wow, that is the most incredible little roach.
What does it do?
Literally anything. It can drive anything, talk to anything, calculate anything. It's a new, better brain.
Can it make babies and play football?
It can do things that'll benefit society.
Okay, you know what he means.
Just saying, there's some things that people do better. I mean, you look at that widget and you see the future. I look at that thing and see 10 guys on an unemployment line.
After his accident and the passing of his wife, Gray loses his zest for life and even becomes suicidal.
Problem. Administered PM medicine.
Again, administer PM medicine. The problem. Again. Again.
I cannot administer any more medication, Gray.
No, you didn't do it right. You didn't do it right. Administer PM medicine. I'm not looking to restart my life. I'm looking for the off switch.
It is at that vulnerable and stirred up time that he allows himself to be carried away and accepts the implantation of STEM. After STEM is implanted, Gray becomes a techno-scientifically enhanced subject. Now, Gray is not only able to walk again, but he is also, for example, much faster than before. At this point, his personal agency is restored, and he supposedly has full control over his body. But while STEM is meant to simply execute Gray's will regarding his previously uncontrollable body parts, the chip not only enables but also actively directs him to avenge his wife.
Call Detective Cortez.
Are you sure you want to call Detective Cortez?
Yes, I am sure. You just found the guy who murdered my wife.
Do you have evidence to prove that?
End call.
You need to be positive it's him before you alert the police.
We, as viewers, are put into Gray's perspective through the film's mise-en-scène, cinematography and sound. We can not only hear STEM just like him,
May I point something out?
but we can also see how it must feel to be under STEM's control.
This is a technique that we've been asked about a lot by people who've seen the film, which is where we lock the camera to Logan and he's the center of gravity. I wanted to do it because I wanted everything to feel strange once STEM was installed inside Gray's body.
This effect is most apparent in moments when control over Gray's body movements shifts from himself to STEM and vice versa. Another visual choice to emphasize the shift in control over Gray's body is the switch between two types of subjective perspectives.
It's you.
Before STEM is granted permission to take control over Gray's body, the camera is handheld, close to Gray's face, conveying the subjective experience of him struggling to win a fight, or rather stay alive at all.
You'll need to be a little faster than that.
Why are you making me do this?
Let me know if you need my help, Gray.
Stop! Help!
I need your permission to operate independently.
Permission granted!
Thank you.
Following Gray's permission granted, the camera appears much more stable and no longer noticeably handheld, while also keeping a much farther distance from the action. To compensate for the loss of closeness to Gray and the strong subjective perspective that comes with it, the camera starts to move in sync with Gray's body movements, which are significantly more intense and noticeable in this fight sequence than before, literally recreating the feeling of distance that Gray must feel from his body at that moment. Although what we see after the switch in control looks and feels totally different, the perspective remains a subjective one. Additionally, Logan Marshall Green, who plays Gray, emphasizes said distance from his body through his performance. There is a huge discrepancy between what he really wants or needs STEM to do and what STEM does after he gains control over Gray's body, which is made very clear through Green's performance, particularly in the way he holds his shoulders and how he generally tenses his body.
Okay, alright, so what's the plan? What are we doing? Stop him!
The distinction between Gray's body being controlled by STEM and by his own will is further conveyed through auditory signals.
You now have full control again, Gray.
Through all these techniques, the ongoing separation of Gray's body and mind is not only articulated, but, to some extent, mirrored for the viewer. Gray, through his newfound confidence, increasingly relies on STEM both mentally and physically. There is an interplay between STEM repeatedly helping Gray, sometimes preventively, and Gray's increasing use of and reliance on STEM, which results in a shift in the balance of power and control for both that, at first, isn't even really noticeable to Gray. He knowingly puts himself in a situation where he doesn't really have any other choice than to grant STEM control, and he does so out of his own free will.
I know that some scumbag in here knows one of the guys who murdered my wife. His name's Cirque Brantner. So if you know Cirque, or if you know any information about the killing of my wife, if you could just raise your hand, or, stand up and come forward. Thank you.
I just need to hear you say it. Were you there?
Yeah, I was.
STEM, you can take over.
Since Aaron threatens to shut down STEM, Gray even goes so far as to have him bypassed, thus unknowingly giving up most of his control over his body movements. As Asijit Datta writes, Whannell's work presents a liminal entity identity that moves from bodily disfiguration to reconfiguration, physical ambiguation to pluralization, and demonstrates the human subject as an unstable category. And further, the supplanting of Gray's exhaustible body by a motorized one simply turns the weight of contingent disability into weaponized vulnerability.
Gray, you must understand.
No, shut up! Get the fuck out of my head! STEM!
Yes, Gray.
What's going on?
I'm not doing anything.
Why can't I move?
Because I'm not doing anything. You are still a quadriplegic. I am the one controlling your limbs, not you. If I cease to operate, you cease to move. Remove input guards. Those were the instructions given to the hacker. They took us off grid, but they also gave me autonomy. I no longer need your permission to act.
This is the point at which the line between the techno-scientifically enhanced human and the post-human gets blurry, which even Gray himself addresses while confronting Fisk, another techno-scientifically enhanced human and the murderer of his wife.
Good speech. Pretty scary stuff. Dramatic. I'm guessing that chip in your brain wrote it, since you're just a dumbass mechanic.
Maybe. Kind of hard to tell anymore.
In the film's last scene, Gray's development towards a post-human state comes to an end. From the moment he arrives at Aaron's property, he is moving noticeably more mechanically than usual, indicating that STEM might be deciding over Gray's body movements completely on his own. We can once again observe through Logan Marshall Green's performance, especially his facial expressions and dialogue, the noticeable discrepancy between Gray's body movements and his own personal intentions.
STEM, not her!
She wants to kill us.
No, I don't want to kill her.
I control your hands, Gray.
No, don't. Please! No! No!
Don't fight me, Gray. You have a fragile human mind. If you push against me, it will break.
Fuck you!
His final attempt to overrule STEM culminates in what Datta calls the magical dream of technocracy and technomancy.
No! No! You are not in control! I am!
The human mind, in this case Gray's, rests in an alternate reality, while STEM completely annexes Gray's body in the real world. Gray stated before having STEM implanted that he was looking for the off switch, as he didn't want to continue living without his wife, Unsurprisingly, this new reality in which Gray's mind ekes out his existence is somewhat reminiscent of what one might imagine life after death to be like. The room in which Gray awakes is brightly lit. The ring that Fisk took from him when he attacked Gray back at the beginning of the movie is back on his ring finger, his wife is alive, and he even has full control over his body. It's an ambivalent ending that captures both the fulfillment of Gray's personal wish and the ultimate failure of the techno-skeptic convictions that had defined his life. As those two scenes, Gray's awakening and Stem's annexation of Gray's body, are intercut with one another, especially the contrast between the brightly lit hospital room and Erin's very dimly lit place becomes very apparent. When you bring together plot and those elements of the mise-en-scène, the ambivalence of a personal, internal, somewhat happy ending for Gray and a frightening ending for humanity becomes all the more apparent, as even for Gray, an avowed techno-skeptic, the fate of complete takeover by machines was inevitable. Through Gray's transformation from an avowed techno-skeptic human subject without any techno-scientific enhancements to a fully dispossessed post-human, Upgrade demonstrates that the promise of technological enhancement that is already evident in the film's title is inseparable from the risk of suppression. While Stem, in the beginning, serves as a tool that restores Gray's personal agency, Gray, through his dependence on and trust in the chip, actually loses more and more control over time. The finale of the film, with Gray's consciousness being trapped in an alternate reality while his body has been annexed by the machine, emphasizes Upgrade's central warning. The more the human subject entrusts itself to techno-science, the more it risks its own dehumanization.